Good afternoon, or good morning, or perhaps good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to this special edition of Cultivating Resiliency for Women in Agriculture. This is part of a special two-part program, Cultivating Resiliency While Navigating Uncertainty. We're thrilled to have you here with us today. I am Doris Mold. I am co-lead on the Cultivating Resiliency project, as well as co-CEO of Annie's project, and both of those are relevant because we are co-sponsoring this event between Annie's project and the Cultivating Resiliency program. We also appreciate the support of our partners, UMash, the Rural Resiliency Project, and the Women's Ag Leadership Program, all of which support us in one way or another. So for those of you that are joining us that might not know anything about cultivating resiliency, or maybe you haven't attended a cultivating resiliency session before, just a little bit of information so you kind of understand where this project came from originally. So Cultivating Resiliency for Women in Agriculture started in 2018 with educational webinars related to mental wellness and stress management. And our focus we decided to focus on women because in agricultural stress conversations, oftentimes the focus was on men. And while men are fantastic and we love them, we thought that women needed some attention paid to them because often women in agriculture serve as the linchpin for their farms, ranches, families. They have their own stress. They take on, if they have a spouse, their spouse's stress often. They're taking on children's stress, or maybe their older generation, either their parents or in-laws, or perhaps both. So women are taking on a lot of stress that maybe other folks don't necessarily get to take on. And so we decided that we needed some programming that focused on that. However, anyone has been welcome to join us and have joined us. So we started off with these educational webinars, and you'll experience something similar to that today for the majority of today's session. It'll be an educational session. And then we added what we call coffee chats in 2019. And these were really an anonymous way for people to exchange thoughts on ag stress and just their lives, and just have a way for people to share, kind of like you'd sit around the coffee, in a coffee shop or at the back room of the cafe, and kind of shoot the breeze and share your thoughts on ag stress and your lives. And we've continued to do those, and actually we do those more frequently now than we do the educational webinars. So we do both, and in addition to those sessions that we do for folks, we also conducted 2 national ag stress surveys, and right now we're working on another. And this program, this Cultivating Resiliency program, has reached people in all states, 3 Canadian provinces, and 3 countries. So it has been very widespread. Our other part of this co-sponsorship is Annie's Project, and Annie's Project is a 501c3 nonprofit, and it is primarily focused on risk management education, business management education for women in agriculture. Again, Annie's Project welcomes all comers to their programming, and we're thrilled to have you here today as part of this program. The program, Annie's Project, was founded in 2003 by Ruth Hambleton, who is currently serving on our board of directors as the treasurer of the organization. And also, as part of Annie's Project, my co-CEO is Carisha Devlin, who couldn't be with us today. All right, just a few other things, a few logistics before we get started. We'll get underway here. Initially, you're going to be in listen-only mode. You're going to be muted. And after the educational portion, which will be recorded, the recording will be stopped and participants will be unmuted. After you are unmuted, you may choose to speak, text in your questions, comments, or just listen. So this is going to be a little bit different session, and we're going to demonstrate how we conduct these online communities. All right. Also, here's the question. Everybody should have a control panel. You have a question area at any time during the session. You can put questions or comments in that control panel and under questions, and I will make sure that they get addressed by Monica. But the question area is a little easier for us to see rather than chat. So I know some of you might be a little unfamiliar with GoToWebinar. This is a system that we use for these sessions for coffee chats and our resiliency circles, because we can lock it down completely so people don't see faces and don't see names. And before we begin, just a reminder that we use our own experience and background as guides. Each of you are experts in your own lives. Today's topic may bring up thoughts or feelings that you might not have been prepared to address. Resources will be provided for you to seek assistance if needed. And also a reminder that any information that's covered today is not intended to be treatment. So with that, I am going to turn it over to the incomparable Monica McConkey, who is going to be our presenter today. She's a rural mental health specialist. She also serves working with us both in our Cultivating Resiliency project and our Rural Resiliency project. And if that wasn't enough, she also chairs the advisory committee for Annie's project. Would you please welcome Monica?
Good to be here. Whenever you say that incomparable word, I'm like, incomparable to, like, is that a good thing? Is that not a good thing?
Definitely a good thing, Monica.
Okay, that's good. So very happy to be here. Pressing topic, the general feeling of uncertainty in agriculture as in life. Right now, I hear about it daily, and so this is going to be a great conversation. It's going to be really fast. This hour is going to fly by, and my hope is to get through kind of my slides, but also leave time for some questions and discussion as well. For those of you who don't know me, I grew up on a farm here in northwestern Minnesota, where I'm currently at. My son is the fifth generation on the family farm, working with my brother and my parents. So I'm still very tied in, and they routinely give me some low risk jobs. But as I get older, they're not asking me for as much help, which is interesting. But maybe okay. So my career in mental health has reached its 30-year mark this year. So I've been in all rural areas during those 30 years. And for the past 5 years, I've had my own private practice where I really focus on working with farmers and ranchers who are struggling. So they could be just feeling extra stress all the way to in crisis to having relationship issues kind of across the board. So that's really what I spend the majority of my time on, as well as speaking and training throughout the country on different aspects of stress and mental health and resiliency. So we're going to be doing a few polls just right up front. The first question I'm going to ask you is, why does uncertainty cause stress? And I know the initial response is because it's uncertain, but dig a little deeper. What is it about uncertainty that causes stress? So go ahead and text your thoughts. This is completely anonymous. If you didn't get connected, there is also a QR code on this slide that you can scan and it'll connect you. Okay, so here we go. You can't picture the final destination, so that really disrupts kind of goals and movement. Fear of the unknown, you don't know the solution. Fear of something going wrong. feel out of control of your life. Feels out of control, lots of out of control, similar to like COVID, right? Where it's like we don't know what's happening, things are out of our control. Oh, look at all the control things because we feel we need to control everything. We feel out of sorts, things just aren't right. All of the what ifs start happening. So things like worst case scenario thinking, right? We spiral down that place of worst case scenario thinking. Good. Trepidation, kind of that fear, that the what ifs. Any other thoughts on this? Really good. Another another way to think about trepidation is anticipatory anxiety. Like we are feeling anxious or worried about something that we're anticipating happening in the future. It may or may not happen, but we're feeling it. Okay, so these are all the reasons why uncertainty can cause stress. Okay, next question. We're digging in deep now. Think of a time you felt uncertainty as a child. So it might be uncertainty, it might have been fear, it might have been that you felt unsafe or in like a lack of security. So what was that like for you? What is a time you felt uncertainty or instability as a child? So think back, what comes to your mind when you were younger? And I put child, but you can, this could go into your teen years or whatever. A time you felt uncertainty or instability as a child. Okay, parents arguing, divorce of parents, restraining order on dad. I mean, wow. Talk about as a kid not knowing like what's going to happen next. Like I have no control and I have no idea what's going to happen next. So parent drinking too much, moving overseas, not having the right friends, experiencing peer pressure, tough finances. You're probably hearing conversations among your parents about how are we going to pay these bills? You're spending too much. We can't keep doing this. The drought. Oh, being gone from home. Yep, staying overnight at a friend's house. So just that uncertainty of I'm in a different environment. I'm not familiar with this. I'm away from home. I'm away from my security, teasing, bullying. So lots of uncertainty, lots of unknowns, lots of being outside of our comfort zone. Oh, having friends that no one else liked, different from other kids, mean girls. A lot, hugely at a time with a death in the family and faced with a divorce, resulting in the sale of the farm. Wow. Not having a 4.0, which was my parents' expectation, accomplished. So people were jealous of me, that lack of support. What I pick up in a lot of this too is very much like feeling alone and isolated, which certainly comes with feelings of uncertainty, not knowing what's next, who's going to be there for me, what does my future look like. So we've got this picture of kind of digging back into childhood, what uncertainty felt like. So next question, what emotions were attached to that uncertainty? So this is a word cloud. So using just one word, what did that uncertainty feel like? Embarrassing, anxious, loneliness. I'm not sure if the deer might have been supposed to be attached to something else. um, loneliness, fearful, less than, shame, guilt. Ah, there's some powerful words here. So the words that are getting bigger are words more of you have texted in. So anxiety, really big, embarrassing, big, shame, fear are both big, confused. Yeah, some really powerful words. So I want you to keep this in mind as we're kind of going forward here. Okay, so I think something wrong was supposed to go together. Okay, so anxious, embarrassing, lonely, shame. Okay, so let's pivot a little bit and talk about what happens to us when we start feeling that stress of uncertainty descend upon us. And I want you to remember, so right now, ignore the right side of your screen. I just want to talk about the brain for a moment, and then we'll get into the response. In your brain, there's this little almond-sized piece called the amygdala. It's right, kind of sits in by our ear. The amygdala is the place in our brains that store all of our memories and emotions together. So linked together. So the reason I asked you the questions I did was because when you were a child and you experienced uncertainty, instability, lack of security, during those times you also experienced emotions that went with that situation. The memories of those situations and the emotions you experienced are like melded together in that part of your brain, the amygdala. Anytime you are facing a situation, your brain runs it through the filter of the amygdala. And what it's doing is it's kind of doing a little self survey, self assessment to see, have I experienced anything like this in the past? And what were the feelings associated with that? And that tells me if I need to be worried or stressed or anxious about something that feels very similar coming at me now. So when we're faced in current life with uncertainty, instability, insecurity, lack of structure, whatever it is that's throwing us, our brains, without us knowing it, because it's automatic, it filters that scenario through the amygdala. And for you all, what it's saying is, oh, this is bad because in the past I have experienced uncertainty and this is how I felt. And immediately then when we experience uncertainty again, this all comes to the surface. And many times we can't like name it. We can't say, oh, I'm feeling like this because of this. I mean, it is an automatic response in our brains. So we need to know that. Like, this is not, there's nothing wrong with me that I'm having this time of struggle when I'm faced with uncertainty. It's literally my brain trying to alert me that, hey, something's not right here. And it goes into preservation mode, which means we're going to do a stress response here to keep you safe. The problem with that is that stress responses were really created in us for life or death situations. And so, okay, now let's tune in to the right side of this slide and we'll walk through what a stress response is. So let's say there's a stressful incident. And for purposes of this example, let's just say we're out in the pasture and a bull is charging toward us. Immediately, without us knowing or consciously thinking, the amygdala recognizes the incident, filters it, processes it, interprets it, and is like, this is bad. So a danger signal is sent to our command center in the brain called the hypothalamus, and that gets the word out to the rest of our body. And a number of things happen immediately. Adrenaline goes up, heartbeat goes up, blood pressure, pulse all increase. Our breathing tends to get rapid and shallow. Our senses get really sharp, and our body releases glucose and fats to supply energy. Because when the bull is chasing us, what do? We run. This is a life-saving mechanism that has been put into our brains, right? Into our system. We do not have to sit and think about in life or death situations. We do not have to sit and think about our options because of this stress response. The brain is only one task, and that's keep us safe. And so when it goes into this stress response, it's all about, I realize this is not bad, and I'm going to tell you what to do. You don't have to think. And that's when we get into fight or flight, right? That's when if a bull's chasing us, it's typically flight or fight, I guess, if a good friend of mine had a bull head her down in a feeder, and then it became fight because she couldn't flee, right? But the point is, we don't have to think. Thinking is not in one of those bullet points in the stress response. That is great in a life or death situation. That is not great in everyday stressors because we're not thinking, we're reacting. Our brain doesn't get the difference. It just sees stress as stress. So our job is to consciously be aware of what's happening and reassure our brain, this is not life or death. We are safe. I need to think. So just throwing this out there so you understand when you're faced with uncertainty and you're having this response, this feeling, this lack of motivation, this energy shift, whatever it is, that's deeply rooted into what you experienced in past life related to feeling uncertain, often down to childhood. Okay? If you have questions, please put them in the question box because I know this is a lot of info here. So, knowing that, we know that when uncertainty comes our way, we don't love it. Like how when a surprise comes or we have a surprise party or we get a surprise trip or whatever, that feels very different than uncertainty. And the kind of the bottom line there is the emotion that we're feeling, and fear came up in a really big way. So that drives how we respond. Typically, when we have a stress response to uncertainty, instability, we tend to go into panic mode, frustration mode, overwhelm mode. We're very emotional, which means our thinking brain is really diminished in capacity. So in those moments, we're not good at making decisions. We're not good at remembering things. We're not good at planning, and we're not good at problem solving. And that's exactly what we need to be doing to feel better and to get through those times. So we're going to talk a bit about resilience and coping and what that can look like in the moments of uncertainty. The first thing I want to talk about is shifting gears. So when we are in a stress response and there's uncertainty and we are feeling like we have a lot on our plates, we don't know what to do, emotion is high, many times we're in that place of first order change. Like, I can get through this. I just have to work harder, stay up later, get up earlier, push myself more, whatever I need to do, I'll get through it. That is probably achievable if you're looking at a short period of time. So we all have like busier seasons in the year, right? We get through those seasons because we know there's an end point. I just met with a group of farm business managers this morning, and it's like 3 months of unbelievable busyness, but they know, like, it's 3 months and it's going to slow down a bit. Staying in first order change, staying in that heightened, driven, high stress, high emotion mode is unsustainable. And you may be, or you may know somebody in your life who is in that mode, has been in that mode for a long time. And there is no way to stay in that mode without repercussions, unless it's short term. The repercussions range from physical impacts to your physical health, impacts to your mental health, impacts to your relationships, impacts to your finances, because again, you're probably not thinking clearly, making good decisions. So again, first order change, all well and good. We probably pride ourselves on this in agriculture much more than we should, but not sustainable for the long haul. So think of it like this. Think of it just not all that long ago up here in northwestern Minnesota, we had wet, like 10 inches of wet, heavy snow. And driving through that snow, you could put your vehicle in a higher gear and your tires are spinning and you're not getting anywhere, but boy, are you working hard. Your vehicles, the RPMs are up, your engine is revving, tires are spinning, like there's a lot of motion, but you're not making very good progress. So what do? We shift down, right? We put it in four-wheel drive, we put it in a lower gear, and we power through at a slower pace. But things have slowed down. Wheels aren't spinning, engine isn't revving, but we're actually making progress. That's what we need to think about in times of uncertainty and stress is there may be a lot of motion, our minds may be going, we might be flying around, but are we really getting anywhere? Or are we burning ourselves out? So that leads to second order change, which is shifting into a lower gear, stepping back, looking at the situation, making a plan, and problem solving. So one of the big ways that we do that, shifting into lower gear, is operating within the realm of what we can control. And this came up a lot in my first question about what is so hard about uncertainty. And it's that we don't have control necessarily about where we're going. We lose decision-making power sometimes. We don't have the information we need. So we don't feel like we are in control. So it's so important to slow it down, that second order change, shift into a lower gear, and really look at what are the things I have control of, and I'm going to put my mental, physical, emotional efforts into those things. Often when we get stressed or there's uncertainty, our minds are going a million miles an hour and we're thinking through what ifs, we're thinking through if onlys, I should have, I could have, and I didn't, all the things. And that is really wasting precious mental energy during times where we need to be really storing it up and using it for things that matter, things that are within our control. So, what is within our control? Time. And oh, I know I shouldn't have this as my first bullet point because I'm sure many of you are like, time. I don't have control of my time. I have so much on my plate, I can't keep up. I get it. Believe me, I 100% get it. But what I also know is that there are moments in our days that are not committed to something else. So, what do we do with those moments? So, if you write down your have tos on a piece of paper from whatever 4 a.m. to midnight, what are the have tos? I have to pick up the kids at this time. I have to milk at this time. I have, a meeting at this time, whatever the have tos are. And then start looking at what does the white space in between those have tos look like? How is it being used? Is it being kind of consumed and lost in emotion? So we're not even really tuned into what we're doing or what we're accomplishing because we're so emotionally frustrated, overwhelmed, upset, depressed, whatever. Or can we do a better job of calmly and rationally planning those times, knowing that life is not that simple and the day will be disrupted and something will happen, and that's to be expected. But if we look at how we're spending our time calmly and rationally, where can we make some tweaks so that we feel more in control and we are using our time in a way that's valuable to us? One even small thing I did, oh, we all know the curse of scrolling, right? Scrolling on our phones. It starts innocently enough, like, oh, I just need to send somebody a message, or I need to look at this, watch this recording, whatever. And then pretty soon, an hour's gone by and we now know lots of stuff that isn't going to do us any good. So I went on Facebook and Instagram are my two scrolling pieces that aren't great. And so I set timers. And I set a timer for 30 minutes on each one. That still gives me an hour a day. And I get little pop-ups saying, hey, your time's almost up. Um, and that has definitely cut down on just unproductive time that's taking my mental and emotional energy. Okay. And our time is ticking away. So I'm going to start going faster here. We control our thoughts. This is huge, you guys. Mindset is everything, especially in times of uncertainty. So we can choose to look at worst case scenario, or we can do kind of like that old adage where we're going to hope for the best, plan for the worst. Now, notice it doesn't say worry about the worst or anticipate the worst or have anxiety about worst case scenario. It says plan for it. That is using the thinking part of our brain, not that emotional part of our brain. Another piece on mindset is to be aware that what we think about drives how we feel and it drives how we function. And that often reinforces our thought. So if our thought is, I can't control any of this. Gosh, think about the feelings that follow that. It clearly things like, well, all the things on your list: fear, feeling inadequate, maybe feeling worthless, feeling alone, isolated. So if you're feeling all those things, how able are you to really focus and dig in and problem solve? You're not. You're really stuck on that thought that I have no control over any of this. And this cycle keeps going and going and going. We can get out of this cycle by paying attention to our thinking. So in this example, I can't control any of this. It's like, no, I can control many things in my life. I control what I eat. I control my physical movement. I control, and we'll get to some other things on the list here, but focusing on the things you have control over. Okay, we control our response. So when uncertainty is passed down, when we're not loving some of the things that are happening around us, how do we respond? Do we respond in a way that keeps us trapped in this cycle of almost like victimhood? Or do we respond in a way where, okay, this is where I'm at, this is my reality, now what is my plan? And of course, we can control our effort. Where are we putting our emotional and mental energy? Is it someplace that is going to help us move forward, or is it someplace that's basically holding us hostage to the past? All right, strategies. We're going to be expanding on protective factors in part 2. So I will just quickly introduce what it means. Protective factors are things we build in our lives to help us get through difficult times. So some of the protective factors are very basic needs. So when we look at Maslow's hierarchy, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with this, developed by Abraham Maslow many, many years ago. The premise of this is we've got to have these foundational basic needs met before we can focus on other things. So when we are in a place of uncertainty and fear and feeling like things are out of our control, let's just dig down and focus on basic needs. Like, I know I have food to eat. I'm going to meal plan. I'm going to hydrate. I know I'm warm. I'm safe. I'm going to work on my sleep. Like, really go back to basics in times of uncertainty. And this is where a lot of people were during COVID. It's like this other stuff up here kind of took a back seat for a little bit. But when we're in places of uncertainty, sometimes we just have to hunker down and go back to basics and reassure ourselves we're okay here. This is okay. And then going from there, then it's about relationships, building our social networks, having people around us that are good for us, accomplishing things, working toward our passion, meeting goals. That all comes after. So when we talk about strategies to alleviate stress, it's all about building those protective factors, taking care of your physical health, working on your thinking, spending time with good supportive people, and building a life you enjoy. Where are those sparks of joy? What feeds your soul? Even in the midst of uncertainty, you know what? I can't wait. Every day I'm going out there digging through the leaves, like, are my perennials coming up yet? You know what? That is grounding. It is a little spark of joy in my life amidst a lot of uncertainty and stress. Okay, here are some websites that can be helpful. Some refer a lot to workplace health or workplace stress, but the uh, tools are helpful for anybody. So American Institute of Stress, Mental Health America actually has little self-assessments you can take for things like anxiety, depression. There's tons of them. And then the CDC. Okay, this is my contact info. And of course, as I say after every presentation, you can feel free to get in touch with me anytime, call, text, email, and we can talk through next steps. So with that, Doris, I'm going to turn things over to you to guide us through our last 15 minutes here.
Okay. So what we're going to do, and Monica will stay on and be helping to make this happen, but if we
Mm-hmm.
go to the next slide here, Monica, just going to talk for a few moments. So we have these anonymous virtual communities that we have to help support people in different ways. So we're going to kind of mimic that so you kind of see what happens during one of those. And we're going to use the educational segment that Monica just did as kind of the background for this. So she'll answer any questions that you might have related to what she just talked about. But if we go to the next slide here, and we can see that our anonymous virtual community, there's 3 different programs that go on a monthly basis. So if you're interested, we'll be sharing information on that. Some of you have already participated in some of these, but just so you know, monthly we have coffee chats, which includes a grounding activity, kind of a de-stressing activity with a few leading questions on different topics related to agricultural stress, and then we just open it up for discussion. And often that session, most frequently, is coordinated or moderated by Dr. Brenda Mack. She grew up on a farm. She is living on a farm currently, and she is also a social worker. So she is a professional in this area and has ag experience. And then we have 2 resiliency circles, an educational component, and then open discussion. And we have Women Juggling It All and the human side of farm transitions. And often Monica is joining us, but we do have other people that we've worked into the schedule in 2025. So again, the Women Juggling It All, it's for anybody that wants to come. And what happens there is that there's always an educational component like we had today, and then we just open it up for discussion. And then we have what's called the human side of farm transitions, and this is a lot of the farm transition conversation that we often have is related to what's going on with the humans, either agreeing or disagreeing or not wanting to get started or feeling challenged by farm transitions, whatever. And so that has been an excellent session. And so again, we have different people that present kind of an opening, and then we open it up for whatever questions, what's stressing people out. If they have technical questions, we answer those. So these are just really good opportunities. And again, you're anonymous. You don't have to speak unless you want to, and your name doesn't show up to any other participants. So, and for some people, they feel more comfort in that. So if we go to the next slide, Monica. So just so you're aware, this is kind of how we start off, just kind of like we started today. And we tell people that they're going to be in listen only mode. And then once you're unmuted, you can choose to speak. And so at this point, I am going to, if I can get this done, I'm going to stop the recording